So first of all, I would like to thank for being here today. It is a great opportunity, it is a great pleasure to see so many faces here. And I think it's a perfect day to talk about business analysis and business knowing that much outside. What I would like to talk with you about is two terms, business analysis and the Agile world. So what is the role of the business analyst in Agile projects? How do these things fit together? So at the beginning, we will talk about the Agile fundamentals. What is actually Agile about? It is a buzzword today. It is kind of modern stuff. We are Agile, we are this and we are that. But what does it actually mean? Many people connect Agile to Scrum, but it is not exactly the same thing. Agile is a whole philosophy. It's a whole approach. And then we would talk about the Agile business analyst. What are the roles and the responsibilities of this person? How do we match the business analysis in the Agile world? And then we will take a deeper dive to some of the techniques, the methodology that an Agile business analyst can do to make sure that the projects are delivered to satisfy the mission, the objectives that were defined at the beginning. So, may I kindly ask those of you who have experience with the Agile approach to stand up just to see how many of you are there. Okay, so I guess about 2/3. Thank you very much. This is the exercise in the morning, to keep your feet. And may I ask those of you who are already working as business analysts to stand up to see how many of you? Okay, so about half of you. Great. Thank you very much for this exercise. So now let's see what Agile is actually about. I would like to show you a short video which gives a really nice picture overview of the Agile development. Please, Elena. Okay. Thank you, Valeria. So this, I think, was a very nice summary about what Agile is actually, what are the characteristics of the Agile development. To make it short, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. When I started developing 20 years ago, I would get the specification that big, program in my corner somewhere. I never talked to a customer, and till the time the software was deployed, tested, till the time it got the customer, 1 year was really gone, and then in the meanwhile the requirements looked completely different. And in a world changing in such a fast pace like we have today, we can't afford us anymore having these months of cycles, yeah? So Agile is about interactions. It's about collaboration within the team, collaboration with your final customer. Show the final customer what you have done, if you have one piece, one feature done. Get immediate feedback. Introduce this feedback in the solution. Allow the customer to get early benefits by delivering packages, sources as early as possible that can already be used. It's about working software over documentation, millions of pages what we used to have. And it's about, what I find very important, responding to change rather than following a strict plan, because the world is changing. We cannot stop it. It's better we accept it and we embrace the change, we handle the changes as soon as it comes. And we are happy about it, because the world is moving and we are moving with the world as well. So this is about the Agile philosophy. It's about, when I'm talking about the business analyst in the Agile world, understand the business, the vision, the strategy of your customer, you know? It's not about, like in the past, I would get a documentation, just program something, yeah? It's about really understand, what does the customer want? What does the customer want to achieve? So rather understand the situation than just offering solutions to something that we don't really know what it is, yeah? And it's about collaboration. The whole team together, the whole stakeholders together, from the development side and from the business side. And again, accept the change as inevitable. So the main difference between the traditional approach, what we call the waterfall approach, and the Agile one, is that in the traditional approach, we would have features that the software must offer, deliver, and then many cases it didn't work with the time or it didn't work with the cost, so we just delayed the project deadline, we put more time, we put more effort in order to achieve these features. Well, nowadays, as the world is moving so fast, as the market is changing, as the economical situation is changing, political situation is changing rapidly, if we just give more time and time and time, what we have at the end might be too late. It might be that the competitor has already launched similar product, or that we are already late with our services on the market because it's not that in anymore, we are late, yeah? So the Agile approach has the time and the cost fixed. So we have these 2 weeks, time boxes or sprints or how you call it, and we have a fixed time, a fixed deadline when the solution is delivered. And because the world changes, we have a, let's say, I would call it a buffer, where we can play a bit with, and it's about the features. So the features are the variable part. We deliver what is a must to make the software work so that the customer can achieve the business objectives. And we have a bit of buffer with the nice to haves, the nice gadgets or the nice cool things that are very nice but don't directly contribute to the business, to achieving the business objectives. So this is the main difference between the traditional and the Agile approach. So now let's see where is the business analyst placed in this structure. What is the role of the business analyst? What I find very important is that this person should understand the overall business needs of the customer in order to facilitate the solution to the customer needs. Yeah? I need to understand who is my customer, what is their problem, or what are their needs, and what they want to achieve as a business analyst. Starting from the top level, on the strategy, on the mission objectives level, and then the business analyst in the project would break it down to the project level where we define the detailed requirements. So this person should always have the big picture in mind. What do I want to achieve on a high level, and how will the solution development team bring these features, implement these features, yeah? Because we are doing all the projects to achieve the customer needs. It's not about it's a cool project or it's a fancy thing, yeah? At the end, somebody invested time and money to have some benefits out of it. And this is the crucial piece where business analyst is involved. So now here we have the project team. This is one presentation. And here, this is the snowman. We call this the snowman of the project team. The head of the snowman is the project level. So here we have the business sponsor. This is the person who will provide the budget. We have the business visionary. This is the person who will provide the high-level requirements, who will define what should the project actually bring, what should be achieved. And then down we have the stomach of the snowman, and this is the solution development team. So here we have the developers, the testers, team lead, and somebody from the business providing detailed level requirements. And the business analyst sits here in between. So this is the person that acts as an interface between the business and between the solution development team. I remember, at least in my experience in the past, where I would see somebody from the business and the technical and the software developer talking. They could never ever understand each other in many cases. And it was not about the language, they were speaking the same language. But the business says, I want to have a new HR system for tracking the working times. And the software developer would come and say, yeah, we can use it in Java, we have the Oracle database, and we do with these forms and so on. So in many cases, this, do you recognize these situations? So in many cases, this was just, they were just, just communicating like this, but never getting a shared vision of what to actually do. Yeah? So this is one of the crucial tasks of the business analyst here, to make sure that what the business really wants is translated in a language that the development team understands. To make sure that actually the whole project stakeholders understand this. To make sure that everybody has a shared vision, because only then we can really deliver what the customer wants to have. So this would be a short summary of the roles of the business analyst in a project. Fully integrated with the solution development team. Supports the communication with the business. Facilitates the relationship between the business roles and technical roles. Ensures that the business needs are properly analyzed. Ensures that the project is going to the direction to achieve the business needs. Why I said Agile is not Scrum. Scrum is the operating level, yeah? And it can happen very often that the development team is creative, trying this out, trying that out, and this is really good. But we need somebody to keep the focus, to keep the goal, to make sure that we really, at the end, arrive where we want to be, to keep the project into the right direction. Another crucial role of the business analyst is about taking care of the requirements. And when I say this, I mean the business analyst is the guardian, the master of the requirements. This is normally how a project lifecycle would look like. So the business analyst at the early stage, pre-project feasibility foundation, will work together with the business to define, to understand the high-level requirements. What do I want to achieve? Let's say we are organizing a company Christmas party and the big boss says, I want that my staff has fun, I want that they get together, I want that they exchange with each other, I want that they feel part of the company, I want that they are more integrated. So this would be something that we define here. And then for this Christmas party, here at the development part, we will define in more detail. Do we want catering, do we want DJ, do we want music, and so on. And the business analyst is present on each level, making sure it all fits together as a puzzle. This is the same with user stories. I'm sure you know and you work with user stories, so one task of the business analyst is to make sure that the user stories are broken down from high level, starting with business objectives and strategy, down to themes, epics, and detailed user stories. And this whole thing must fit together. There must be a link between all these things. And I would strongly recommend to those of you who are dealing with requirements, for each detailed user story, for each detailed requirements, write down which business objective is it linked to. So that we really keep the focus on the business, that we really know why are we doing this actually. If the customer wants to have this report or this feature, why? What is it good for the customer? How does it help to the customer? What problems does it solve? So the business analyst should have this big picture, this overview from high to low level requirements. So typically the business analyst would be the owner, the guardian of the requirements list. The business analyst needs to make sure that they are written in a good quality, they are complete and consistent. What I just experienced last week as a consultant in one company. The requirements change 5 times a day, you know? Today they say I want it in white, the next day they say I want it in black, and if we document this, it doesn't fit. It can't be black and white at the same time, yeah? So the business, I see laughing faces again. So the business analyst needs to make sure that all these things fit together. They are complete and consistent. And needs to ask questions, guide the business. Also, by asking the real questions, why do you really want this? How can we do it? And also by somehow facilitating this process, guiding the business who provides input. Do you really need this? What is it good for? And how can we resolve this problem? I don't know.
No.
Ah, okay. So this is just a summary of a good written requirement. It should be realistic. It should be unambiguous and clear enough for everybody to understand. You know, requirements that the business understands but that the developer cannot really understand are not good requirements. All stakeholders should understand what we are talking about. Consistent, prioritized, very, very important, prioritized, testable, and we define acceptance criteria. So each requirement must have an acceptance criteria defined so that we know when we have achieved it and we can measure the success. Complete and relevant to the project objectives. So always the business analyst always bears in mind where do we want to get, what are the objectives of this project. Here we have the life cycle of a requirement. The first part of the life cycle would be the elicitation. And this is where the business analyst comes on the stage. Typically, you know, in the past, the business would write an email, you get it, or a document, and you start developing. So the business analyst should facilitate conversation. Let's bring everybody on the table when we define this requirement. Let's model the solution that we want to have. Let's create a shared vision of what this requirement is about so that the developers that implement it can really do it fit into the business objective. And something that I really like is that the requirement needs to be prioritized. I don't know about you, but in my daily life as a business analyst, I experience that everything is a must. Every requirement that somebody brings must be done now and 100%. But this is not really, when you see the business objectives, it's not always the case, yeah? So one technique for prioritizing that I like a lot is called Moscow, actually. So we would be missing 2 O's here. These are define the must-haves. These are those that are absolutely need to be there in order to achieve the objectives. Then we have the should-haves. These are those that are really good, but we might have a workaround to achieve them. And then we have the could-haves. These are the nice-to-haves, yeah? Nice colors, nice gadgets, and so on, but we may succeed even without them. So it is very important that the business analyst makes it clear to the customer that in the changing world like today, it is not possible to achieve everything 100% with a defined time and with a defined cost, because things are changing. The requirements are also changing, yeah? So one possibility how to handle it is to define a certain percentage of must-have requirements, and these are the survival ones, the ones that we need to succeed with the project. So then the business analyst will make sure that all the requirements are documented, analyzed, and we need to make sure 2 things when we validate the requirements. Are we building the right thing? This is the validation. Are we going to the right direction? And the verification, the validation, are we building the thing right? And these are the things that we need to check throughout the whole requirement lifecycle. So business analysts focus on the objectives, is the guardian of the requirements, facilitates workshops, and is doing modeling and prototyping. My experience, yeah, you receive a document, you need to implement something. I was not always sure I shared the vision with those that gave it, yeah? So as a business analyst, I sit together with my business, with the experts, we draw pictures, we create diagrams, we create prototypes, because people think more in pictures and they think more in the natural language that we use. So one sketch is usually worth more than 10,000 pages of documentation, yeah? For creating a shared vision about the requirement. So this is one of the tasks that the business analyst would do in a project. Now I have some of the techniques that the business analyst might use to make sure that we understand that we share the vision with the business. So this would be the customer journey mapping, typical, I'm sure some of you know this, all the interactions that the customer has with your system. Specification by example, has anybody used this one? Yeah. What I like about this you really talk in a natural language from the business. I want to have whatever. Each VIP user needs to have the 10th piece for free, yeah? It supports the natural language of the humans as they speak, specification by example. And then based on this, we define the documentation and the test scenarios. Impact mapping. Again, one method for defining requirements. And again, start from the business goal and break it down to the actors, what is the impact, and then to the deliverables of the project. So this is a very, very high overview. I just wanted to give you some examples of techniques that are really useful. And the last one I have, personas. Have you used it? This one is describing a group of typical users or typical customers of the solution. So the last one I have for today is the transition to Agile business analysis. It is not easy, and it probably doesn't happen overnight. But the benefits are for sure there. Deliver faster, achieve benefits on the customer side earlier, be more responsive to change, and stay in time and in budget, which is, I think, crucial in the changing world nowadays. Understand the overall impact of the change. this is something that the business analyst should do. Understand the whole surrounding, the whole context, the whole project environment. So, that was it.
Thank you, Helen. Please stay on the stage. So maybe we have questions. Now we have 10 minutes for QA session. So if somebody of you have a question, please raise your hand up. But a bit higher so I'll see it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank
a question on the impact mapping. Do you use that primarily with the whole team, like on the development side, or more with business stakeholders, or everything, everybody?
All of them, all together. So in the pre-project, it's more with the business. When we start the development, it's more with the solution development team. But we have meetings where representatives from all sides are there.
So is that an iterative activity, or is that something that's done once in the beginning of the project?
I'm sorry?
Is that an iterative activity? Something done
It is an
repeatedly?
iterative. It is done on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
I think that the solution development team has to understand what the business wants and needs. So they have to bring all of them at the same table on a regular basis.
More questions? Yes. Can you please wait a bit, like, with microphone?
The microphone is coming.
Thank you for presentation. It was very interesting. But my question is about how to involve stakeholders, because actually business analyst is fully integrated with software development team. It's sometimes quite difficult to engage the customer, to get the feedback. Could you please advise something to us as a business analyst
Yes.
to improve this?
This is the biggest challenge I'm also facing. My biggest advice would be make it clear to the customer that if we don't talk on a regular basis, then the probability that we don't achieve the time, cost, and features at the end is very high. That if they are involved, they can have early benefits. They can have a solution that they want on time. And it's also about the early benefits. They can then see very early what the solution might look like. And then, again, because of time and cost, that might lose the market, that might lose their own business or whatever. So it is for them also critical that things are done on time, within budget, and the features that they really need. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Elena. And I have a question related to the lady's question. So if the customer doesn't answer you, so you write him and he doesn't answer, how often is it okay to bother them so they don't get irritated? Thank you.
This is something that has to do with, let's say, the communication strategy, yeah? So I make it clear. I say, I'm waiting for an answer till whatever, Friday. If I don't get an answer, then for me and for the solution development team, it means we will do it this way, yeah? Yes or no. And then we have it written, and we have it also communicated probably to somebody from the business, and then it needs to work, yeah. I know this, waiting for decisions. This is a typical. Somebody in the back? Sorry.
Thanks, Elena. Question: if stakeholders doesn't know what he will get at the end of his solution, so what are your actions?
So this is why we involve the stakeholders from the beginning. Let's say we are just developing a simple website, yeah? I make a scratch, I design the interface, you know, and then I show them. So this is how it will look like. Does it fit you? Should we move some things, yeah? This will be the functions. And then, so as early as possible, give them, first design with them together, and as soon as you implement, as you have sub-package implemented, you don't wait, test, deployment, and so on. Show them on your own PC, or write a sketch and make a photo as a photo protocol and say, okay, this is how it will look like. It doesn't have to be a perfect document. Post-it, flip chart is enough. Just involve them as early as possible and provide feedback to them as soon as you have something to show. Yeah.
Hi all. So yeah, everybody knows that world is changing, right? I have actually two questions. So the first one, how much time you have, for instance, when feature just appear, yeah, and when it goes to development. So how much time you spend on analysis, and the second time, how you convince your business not to go fast in the next iteration with this feature, and because they always know that yeah, it must be, and it's must be very soon. So they sometimes don't want to waste time for a lot of discussion and analysis. So two questions. Thank you.
Okay, so first questions. The early we have the input, the easier it gets later, yeah? So regarding input from the customer of what it should look like. Second thing, I think every human being, you know, if you say we have 2 weeks time, then we need 2 weeks time, and that's it. When I talk to my customer, we clearly decide, okay, for this we need 2 days, for this we need 3 days, and then we have the buffer, which we might use or not. But this is clearly communicated when we start every, whatever you call it, sprint or tiebooks or package, yeah? So, and then in an ideal Agile world, you would communicate with them on a regular basis. So they are part of the team. The whole stakeholder, business and developers are actually part of the team. And they how to say, they collaborate, they exchange with the team on a regular basis. So, I don't know, I think that the question about efforts and we can't do it today, with this, it kind of becomes obsolete. When you exchange, when you communicate on a regular basis, you see it, yeah? And when the customer gets regular input from you, okay, this is how it would look like, draft version 1, draft version 2, then this thing somehow, then it works. Then they have the understanding that it can't be everything in 1 week. Okay. Yeah. There.
Okay, so Agile has a lot of benefits, but are there any downsides, or maybe there are some circumstances that you don't want to run a project on Agile?
Yes, there might be areas that are strongly regulated. Let's say I can think of the pharmaceutical industry or of a public sector, yeah, where you deal with critical data or you deal with many legislation aspects, yeah, your own country, the European Union or whatever. And in these areas, I don't say you Agile doesn't fit, but you might use only parts of it, yeah? You might customize it to the industry. And it might be that this deliver every 2 weeks and so on doesn't work, because just to implement or to consider these regulatory aspects might need more effort. First part, and second part, these industries might be audited also on a regular basis, yeah? So it means some inspection comes and you need to prepare, in these cases, certain documentation to satisfy the laws, the legal guidelines in your country. So in this case, maybe documentation has to be there because of audit purposes. So these are the cases where I think you can take what fits to Agile, but probably not the whole tools, the whole tool set.
All right, thank you, Helen.
Okay.